So creating your own GPT or large, maybe you can still...
Very expensive.
Very expensive?
Yeah.
Prohibitive?
So, prohibitive for small pockets like mine. Yeah. So
I'm going to ask you a pragmatic question. What size of company should you be before you consider creating your own GPT?
Well, so we're talking several tens of millions, right?
Okay.
So no, that makes sense, but it makes sense if you say, I have such valuable proprietary data that I actually want to create my own model and I want to train it myself and I want to run it myself on my own hardware and so on and so on. You're talking a lot of money there. But that's not where you will have a few big players who's going to go, who actually are already there. So
SAP, for example.
SAP actually is, okay, in any case, yeah. Well, I don't want to talk about SAP, but there are a few companies that are going there, and they should. It's wonderful, great, but that's not where, for example, consultants are going, right? I mean, that's not the type of pockets that we have.
Yeah.
But what we can do, and that's what, for example, I'm doing with the PMR2 in efforts, is to use the existing tools, for example, the existing LLMs, such as, for example, GPT-4, in order to use it for our purposes. So I create a front end that manages the GPT-4. Right?
So let's take a step back. So if you're not willing to spend 10 million, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, right? So in the interim, if I'm a smaller company,
forget about the interim. Why would you ever want to go through the hassle of building your own model if you don't need it?
Let me then ask you a more direct question. Is for a lot of the use, so let's be concrete what I mean with use.
There's a huge amount of stuff that you can
When
do.
we talked a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of reluctant. Oh my God. I mean, I always like talking to you, but I kind of got a last minute request. I have to talk to you because you did a presentation for a client. And
that's right.
The same client.
And
AI. Okay.
Dr. Max. Yeah.
And I'm going to use a real life because I think this is where you can sink your teeth in. Yeah. You said, okay, let's pull out ChatGPT. I said, okay. Then I said, okay, let's say you have a request for proposal. Put the request for proposal into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, which I didn't think you had to prompt it that way, what is the document? And it gave a great summary.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I mean, it knows who, what, how. And then you started taking me through what I call the planning cascade, right? You said, give me a risk analysis, give me a risk matrix with colors and split up into 4 different things. And you can give it order. I'm like, what? Yeah. And then stakeholder analysis. Then you could ask it like smart questions, like why do you rank this risk lower or this stakeholder? Why didn't you give it more?
It tells you.
And it tells you. And then you could theoretically say, okay, if you have a request for proposal, you could actually take your own template. Your own template that you have, as long as it's not too complicated. If it's too complicated, it kind of slows down and tells you.
Yeah, it makes a copy of it and tells you, hey, this is what I can do.
But I put in a simple template and it filled it out for me. Yeah. And from that perspective, this is my question to you: can I do this with ChatGPT?
This is ChatGPT. This is $20 a month of ChatGPT. This is all it is.
And the question is, if I were a decision maker in a company, and I know that this is a possibility,
every employee would have access to it.
I don't want this just for 1 or 2 people. I want this to be part of my system.
Absolutely.
But then I'm going back to the question of, can I work with this open source thing? I don't know if that's the right term or not, or do I have to have a closed source thing? Where do I provide the system with access to my previous contracts? So that it can aggregate, because you were talking about knowledge management.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's concerns.
Right.
Okay.
Today, so it used to be that OpenAI, that is the company that owns GPT-4, which is the model that we're talking about, was actually using the data they collected in order to then retrain the models.
Yeah.
What this meant is that the information that you've provided is not going to be copy-paste in the next, but it could pop up somewhere and you don't really know where it might pop up, right? And you don't want that if that's your proprietary. Now, what OpenAI is saying is if you are contributing information into a paid account, they will not use that data to. So now the question is, how do you trust, right? I don't know.
Do you trust TikTok? Do you trust?
Well, I certainly wouldn't trust TikTok. But the point is, so do you trust them? I don't know. I guess to a certain degree, if it's not too risky for me, I'll trust you. Of course, if I have some super innovative technical solution, I am not going. I mean, trust is a measure of vulnerability, right? Are you accepting vulnerability? That's what trust is all about. So you need to decide how much vulnerability are you ready to tolerate.
But this is, let me ask you, if I were to come to you as a client and you're my consultant, would I be able to ask you these questions, and could you help me navigate to what level we access it, and you could help train my team, because level one. Let's start. Quite honestly, I think most companies would be happy if they have level one. I think actually, in the sense of acceptance, I think most employees would embrace AI even at a more complex level if at the first level there was some return of investment. You get kind of the classical with them. What's in it for me?
Right. I mean, and there is a lot. Yeah. There's really a lot in it for you. So the practical usage is where the most low-hanging fruit is. So you really want to teach your employees to be able to use these practical, these simple tools. You don't want to make it too complicated. That'll come later. But first they need to feel comfortable with it. If they don't feel comfortable with it, you will never get to the next step.
Yeah.
So how do they get comfortable with it? Yeah, they get comfortable with it with simple tools. You mentioned Copilot, ChatGPT.
I was impressed with Copilot. I mean, it was intimidating because it's just so new to me, but it made so much sense that now, it'll do my minutes. I can transfer it into Excel. It'll give me my action items. Yeah. It'll send out to-dos.
Yeah, but this is just this is the lowest hanging fruit.
But even if it's the lowest hanging fruit, I think that's where we emotionally need to start, because I think everybody's already looking at a generative AI, which is, I don't know.
This is generative AI.
Well, I'm talking about what everybody's afraid of.
You're talking about the artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Everybody's afraid of that, but what does that make up? 5% of the focus right now, or even less?
No, I mean, there's a lot of people working on it, but they're not at our level.
Yeah, but it's not what the industry is waiting for.
The industry is waiting for it.
Yeah, but the industry is not even digesting what it has right now.
Right, that's correct.